Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Who's back? Say hi to the people.
Hi.
Okay, so yeah, we're back for another week. This is going to be our final episode of the season. Letting y'all know up front, we'll be back after Martin Luther King Day in January. So y'all chill out, relax. We're going to talk about, what are we talking about today?
Best Man Holiday.
Well, not just Best Man Holiday, just the Best Man franchise.
Well, the whole series, yeah.
So Best Man Holiday. And even though Best Man, Final Chapters isn't out yet, we're just going to talk about all of it because it makes sense. Why would we talk about it?
But this is leading up to December 22nd on Peacock. There'll be the Best Man Final Chapter.
Yes. So let's begin at the beginning. So when we first meet them, 1996 is when The Best Man came out. You got a group of college friends, came up together. They've had their adventures and everything. Now they're in their mid-20s, a group of 20-somethings. They're starting their careers. They're in relationships. One of the friends is getting married. Okay, so we have Harper Stewart, who's a writer, journalist. He wrote a book about their college years, and his circle of friends is real excited because even though it's fiction, the characters are based on his college years. Excuse me. So what comes out, because I think most of y'all have seen it by now, what comes out through the book is basically that when they were in college, Harper slept with his best friend, who he's going to be the best man in his wedding. He slept with his best friend Lance's girlfriend, Mia. Mia is who Lance is about to get married to. So, of course, that creates some drama once Lance finds out. He went all Suge Knight on his bestie. And tension existed ever since then. Now, to clarify, what Mia did, and I think it's interesting that they didn't hold a light up on this too hard, is that Mia basically had revenge sex.
I think in the first one, they kind of...
We're talking about the first one.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think in the first one, it was obvious that that's what it was about. But I think, like, you're not really paying too much attention to that. Even though it was definitely said, I don't think you're paying too much attention to it because of the fact that, unfortunately, in a situation like that, it gets taken off of the person that stepped out of the relationship, and now it's on the friendship or the friendship relationship, where it's like, I mean, when somebody cheats on you in a relationship, it's hurtful. But then if it's like they cheat on you with their best friend, it's like the loyalty thing is directed to the friendship now, because it's like that came first before the romantic part of it came.
I think what was emphasized was because Lance is very religious. And so what Mia, his fiancée, soon-to-be wife in The Best Man, represented for him was she was single, she was pure, untouched. He's the only one who had been there. And to find out that somebody, his best friend, got there before he did, he was hurt, which goes back to the loyalty thing. But he would not put any blame on Mia and say, well, you shouldn't have done that, even though he was cheating on her the whole time.
But he also, I think, mentioned that in the movie, where it was like he was saying that if she did turn around and do it back to him, he would basically still, like, take her back because he deserved it. But the fact that it was, which he did take her back, but I think it was the point that, like, basically it was with his best friend. It was like, that was kind of like, that's a hard thing to come back from. Especially in the relationship of Lance and Harper. It was just like, he's always gonna have that mistrust with him now, because
in his head,
like, it's just never gonna go away.
So there's that. That's the main thing of the movie. But then you meet the friends. And okay, for me, when I first saw the movie back in the 90s, shortly after it came out, I loved it because other than Living Single, which came out 3 years before the movie, there weren't too many sitcoms or TV shows that showed quote unquote normal relationships, friendships, romantic relationships between Black people. Usually if you saw a Black person on the screen, they were the maid. They were destitute. They were on welfare. They were on drugs. They were trying to get their loved one out of jail. It's like you saw some family relationships, but there was something that is what we call now a dog whistle to, oh, Black folks are only suited to this, or this is as high as they elevate themselves. Here you had a group of college graduates starting their careers, finding their place in the world and building that lasting relationship. So this was a big deal back then. And I want to say it was Nia Long in a recent interview. She pointed out that, you know, when Best Man came out, because of all the things that I just mentioned, that it was an even bigger deal because you didn't have streaming. So everyone was rushing to the theaters to see what they knew to be normal reflected back to them. So
yeah, because it's like, I don't think there's a lot of like romantic comedies with our skin tone, or it's like, if there was, it was like the one token Black friend might have been floating around the movie, but it wasn't like it was an all Black cast or mostly Black cast. Like,
right. Well, you know, we had our romances. I think, I'm trying to remember when Jason's Lyric came out. I think Jason's Lyric came out before this, but again, the backdrop of it was they're living in LA, there's high crime, somebody's brother is in the life, and the other one's trying to get out, and everyone thinks, oh, you're trying to elevate, so you think you better than us. All of that kind of drama.
Yeah, like it was kind of like, but as far as like seeing just a normal, okay, we're, you know, successful people going to college, and then becoming adults, getting into their careers and stuff like that, and then they just live these normal lives, but there's that touch of like drama in there.
Yeah, and
we didn't
go ahead.
We didn't really like we didn't really have that representation as far as like in the movies or a big film that was coming out. I mean, we started getting that with like Martin and Fresh Prince and stuff as far as sitcoms and like seeing the Black family and even the Cosby Show. I mean, even that far back, it's kind of, and well, I won't say that far back, but further back than that, we even have like Good Times and all of that, but it's like,
but no, Good Times, again, that was framed on a family in the ghetto that didn't have a whole lot. Poor black people. Yeah, basically. And what I was going to say is I like the fact that the way this was framed, again, the normalization, they weren't showing up as, oh yeah, we made it. We made it out of the hood. We're the first to graduate and all that stuff. It was like, we went to college, we graduated, and
this is
now
what
we're taking our path. It wasn't even like, this is what we're supposed to do. It's like, this is how people live. This is how people live, not necessarily Black people. So that one closes out. Lance and Harper are
they're on a respectful basis, but it's kind of like, don't cross me ever again kind of thing, or don't, this is the boundary, don't cross over it kind of thing.
It's like, I can't get rid of you because we have a friend group and you're gonna be around, and you apologize,
and he helped him like basically like get to the altar and everything. So it's kind of like, I feel like Lance owed him some type of respect in that sense as a friend, but But I feel like as far as like anything else, he felt like he didn't owe anything to Harper because he felt as though that like you betrayed me, you crossed me, and we're not gonna like cross this boundary ever again. So I think like leading up into the Best Man holiday, it's more like Mia's doing the reaching out and everything to get the group back together.
Right.
Because he was kind of more so content with the idea of we're friends with them, but like we got our own situation and we don't need to kind of get that immersed or that tied back into that friend group right now. Because we're living our lives. We're happy. We're content. Like we don't need them to like... Yeah. He very much had that energy throughout the movie, even in the second one. Like it's just kind of like... They're here. It's fine. Yeah, but like, we don't need these people kind of thing. Like, we don't need this. I don't think it
was these people. I think, okay, so Best Man Holiday, hopefully you've seen it by now. Best Man Holiday takes place 15 years after The Best Man. Lance is a successful football player. He's recognized, you know. People want to come to the games to see him do what he does. They have, 3 kids? He and Mia have 3 kids together.
I thought they had 4. I could be wrong.
I lost count.
I thought they had 4. I don't know.
I counted 3. But anyway, they got kids. They have a huge estate. And on the outside, everything looks great. Mia reaches out to all of the friends and says, hey, let's do the holidays here this year. And again, with Lance and Harper, there's this tension because he's like, okay, so we're going to invite him to stay here in proximity to you. I don't like it. Harper and Robin, who was his girlfriend, played by Sanaa Lathan in the first film, they're now married and she's expecting. And so again, you see that growth. We haven't even talked about the other characters. So Harper and Robin are a couple. Taye Diggs plays Harper. Lance Sullivan and Mia Morgan, now Sullivan, are played by Morris Chestnut and Monica Calhoun. Julian, which I love Julian. Julian really is played by Harold Perrineau. And this in The Best Man, the sub story, basically Julian Murch, they called him Murch. He was kind of the nerdy, little bit innocent one in the friend group. Like he was always nervous. He was the voice of reason on certain things, but the other guys in the group kind of used to clown him and be like, man, what's wrong with you? You need to find someone else, because he was dating in The Best Man, Shelby, played by Melissa D'Souza. And she was just a straight up gold digger, controlling. User. Yeah. And he was very much, okay, dear, I'm coming. And they weren't even married yet. That's not cute. Anyway, at the bachelor party, and this was her first role, her first big movie role, Regina Hall plays Candy, a stripper. Okay, so she shows up to the party. Her and her partner, they're, doing the lap dances, walking around, and the slinky move that folks do. Anyway, she shows up, and everybody's kind of teasing like, yo, I think Murch is in love. And she spots him and is like, okay, the nerdy one. I'll go rub up on him. And she does she's putting on a show, and he's sitting there like, oh my God. So excited. I'm happy. Everything's happy. And he's like, I love you. So for him, it was love at first sight. He didn't care that she was a stripper. He went and chased her down after her performance, wanted her number and all of that stuff. And his friends are like, you gonna go from Shelby to a scripper.
You just always got like the short end of the stick, like in the first movie and somewhat in the second movie.
Right, right. And then you got Quentin. Quentin. Played by Terrence Howard. Do I need to say more after I say Terrence Howard? To explain the character he played. He was a friend. He's a friend that likes poking the bear. Okay. Oh, going back to Julian. He was studying law and also like volunteering at the time at a community center. Okay. And even his friends were talking to him about that. Like, why are you working with those badass kids? Just do law. You'll make money doing that. And he's like, I don't know. He just
had a special connection with like his volunteer work, and like they just weren't.
You know how 20-somethings are. They're still trying to figure things out.
Still trying to figure it out. And, like,
but Quentin, okay. So his father owns, I don't know if it's a chain of hotels or one big hotel, but he's in line to inherit it. His dad wants him to learn hotel management. And he's like, man, I ain't into that. Because, parents are still taking care of him. So he has the freedom to kind of do whatever
he wants to do.
And does in a very loud way. So, but he's also the one who likes to poke the bear. He did it throughout the first movie, and even he had a little bit of a voice of reason, but he wasn't worried about hurting anybody's feelings in the process. And as in every friend group, it's like, that's who it is.
I don't know. I feel like I saw a more vulnerable side of him in the second one. Mm-hmm. And I even found it interesting that he kind of went through the same things as, well, I guess I don't want to ruin it, but
second one, you can.
Yeah, he went through the same things that Lance and Mia's kids were basically about to go through in the second film. So it's kind of like we got to see more of a vulnerable side of him in that movie. He was a lot more of a voice of reason. Mm-hmm. He was thinking a little bit more logically. He was
thinking more about his future.
Yeah, but
he
like,
was still being,
he was being messy,
jerk self,
but like he was being a little messy. But it's like, as far as actually us seeing a more like caring side or him showing more of his emotions, mm-hmm. I feel like I definitely saw that in the second one versus the first one. The first one, he was just the team of me. F all y'all. Like, he just didn't, like...
He was all right with acting like a mosquito in a nudist colony, if you know what I mean. So, yeah. he was out there sowing his oats and all of that stuff. And like she said, by the time he got to Best Man Holiday, you could see he was thinking about some things. He was considering some stuff. He still had his, little bevy of women around the side. And he's still peeping stuff out and being an instigator and all of that stuff. And he and Shelby got together more than once while they were inebriated and woke up in bed and were like, ew! That was the comedy between
the contrast between that. So in the first one, it was kind of like they got into bed with each other and they woke up the next day and they're like, ew, oh my God. Mm-hmm. The second one, it was more like
a little more willing.
It was like they did it, and then like the next day they were kind of like, no. This is what we do to have fun, and that's about it. Right. Like, Quentin was kind of trying to poke and see like, well, it seems to be working, or it seems to be like a thing. And she's just kind of like, no, we're just emotional and like, we're just doing this for fun kind of thing. Like,
and Shelby was still kind of flirting with
Quentin.
Not Quentin, Murch.
Sorry, I was getting them confused. So, yeah,
still kind of flirting. And Candace was like, I will throat punch a heifer. Mm-hmm. Like, I had your kids. Why is she here? What's she doing? She didn't even really come up with the rest of us. Now, mind you, she was the last one to the friend group, but she's like, oh no, I'm in here. Mm-hmm. What's she doing here? Yes. And yeah, it came to fisticuffs at a certain point.
I even like the contrast between that too. It went from Candy to Candace.
To Candace.
Like, it was just like...
Right. She came into herself, and you came to realize that she was one of those girls who was doing the stripping just to pay her way through college.
Yes. And I was actually just having this conversation with my boyfriend this morning. We were talking about strippers, and I was telling him, like, I would love to just, like, interview some strippers. Like, I would love to have, first of all, I want my own podcast anyway, but, like, I would love to just interview strippers, because I think people have this, like, misconception where it's like, oh, well, they're just a part of this fast money lifestyle, and they live crazy and party all day long. And it's like, not all of them, have that mindset. A lot of them actually are very intelligent women or men, very intelligent, and they're putting themselves through college, or they're starting a business.
They're not doing it to pay for drugs or something like that.
Yeah, or they might be taking care of other family members that don't have it the way they have it. Like, you never know their stories. And I think, like, each stripper that you meet or talk to has a different story. Yeah. And I think that would be really interesting. But yeah, and like,
some of that came out, they didn't do a whole
thing about it. Yeah.
But that was part of the story in Best Man Holiday. She's a different person now than when she was back stripping.
Because then she worked in the school. She worked in the school with Merch.
Right. So Merch gave up on law and decided to build a private school. And he and his wife ran it together. And then one of the major donors went digging and, to make sure they were morally correct, which up until that point he'd made multiple donations and thought they were. But then a video popped up from Candy's early days as a scripper, and the donor was like, yeah, did you know about this? Because it's a no-no in our book, so we can't. And then this is where you see the friendship kind of pull together in spite of the tensions that are there, because Shelby, who's now a housewife of whatever neighborhood, she goes to Merch and says, well, first she offers it in a very specific way and says, well, if things happen, I could give you the money. I got the money. You can have it, but how about we, and he was like, absolutely not, because he's in love with Candace. He might even be in love with Candy, but he was in love with both of them with Candace, and so he wasn't going to disrupt his relationship like that. But in the end, all of the friends, when they realized the extent of what he was dealing with, they said, look, we got you. And they all pulled together and contributed. So Best Man Holiday, Mia actually invited them over because she was very sick. And she figured that this would be her last chance to see them, because stage 4 cancer, it wasn't going away. And she wanted to have one last special moment. So in the midst of all of the drama that they were all going through, Candy's video being leaked, Shelby flirting with Merch, Lance and Harper trying to mend the relationship from 15 years ago. With all of that happening, all of them in the beginning didn't even realize that Mia was sick. But once they did, they tried to keep all of that away from her so that she could have a good holiday. And again, this is where that normalizing of relationships come in, because at this point they weren't just friends, they were family. And they were looking out for each other. So all of this leads up to, the final scene. Harper and Robin's baby was born. That scene is funny. But at the end, it's like a year later, Harper and Lance, they're cool. Everything's copacetic between them. And they're sitting in the nursery holding Harper and Robin's baby, who was named Mia after Mia. And Quentin is there, and he says, you know, I met somebody, and I'm gonna get married.
Oh, God.
Quentin getting married. So that is where Best Man Final Chapters picks up, because they never said who he plans on marrying. The obvious option would be, but I have a feeling that it's not, and we're about to see someone new.
Yeah, I don't think it's as simple as Shelby, because I feel like, I don't know.
That'd be too predictable.
Yeah, it'll be too predictable. And if it is, then it's going to be it's going
to be comedy, straight up comedy.
Yeah, like, I feel like if it is. Yeah. Also, we didn't really touch on Nia Long's character either. Because her and Harper, they had a situation too, which I felt as though
a close encounter.
I just thought it was very interesting, because it was kind of like they had this possible kind of like sexual tension back in college, and as they got older, it was kind of like unfinished business. Like, it was kind of just like they had this sexual tension in college. He ended up having the affair with Lance's girlfriend, Mia. Mm-hmm. And then after that, it was kind of just like, you know, they got older, it came out. But then I feel like Nia Long's character was kind of just like lingering there, like, oh, you know, yeah, I kind of want to have a fling with you, or I want to kind of like have this.
Well, in Best Man, it was like, for her, that was the unfinished business. She was like, you're not married to Robin. So, you know, we could still.
Yeah, it was like all this built up tension from college. Like, it just didn't get released. Right. And I don't even know if she knew.
She did find out. Robin did find out that there was a thing between them, because he put it all in the book.
Well, no, I'm not talking about Robin. I'm talking about Nia Long's character. I feel like I don't know if she knew until she read the book that he had an affair with Mia. Mm-hmm. But what was interesting to me was in Best Man Holiday, Nia Long's character and Mia are like best friends.
They're best friends, but there's tension between her and Robin.
Yeah.
And she, even though she has a whole other boyfriend, she found herself a white guy. Oh, what's his name? Sibian. I can't think of his first name. He's married to Leanne Rimes. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Cute. Dimples for days. You could go swimming in them. But anyway, they're an item. At the start of Best Man Holiday, she's very much into, I have a career. I'm focused on this. You know, we're dating, but he's just something to occupy my time.
But she was very much like that in the first one, too. Like, she was very like, career-driven.
Yeah.
Person. So it was kind of like in Best Man Holiday, she had to kind of like, now that she was actually like falling in love with somebody, and you know, now she's getting to that age where it's time to kind of settle down and share life with somebody.
I don't think it was an age thing necessarily. I think being in an environment where all of her other friends are married, and it didn't matter what kind of tension and drama they were going through, she was thinking back to the almost happenstance with Harper. And even though there's a piece of her that was still like, you know, it could have been, that could have worked. Mm-hmm. She was kind of like, you know what? That's not going to work. And, all right, I have this career, but what else do I have? They have
children, they got marriages. They
the
have
whole package.
Yeah.
They have the whole package.
But that's what I was trying to say is like, she's coming to that point in her life, not necessarily just in general, I guess, but in her life, she's coming to that point where she's at that stage where she has to kind of start thinking about the bigger picture, settling down. Right. She found this man that she's in love with, but even her expressing that much, and I can relate to her character a lot, because not so much that I'm business driven, but I'm very independent. Like, you know, I do a lot of stuff for me. Like, I'm not relying on a man to do stuff for me. So I even saw a little bit of that, and that was kind of relatable. Like, it's kind of like, she's very career driven. She's been doing this for so long by herself. And it's kind of shocking to meet somebody that just loves you and cares about you. And then you kind of have to learn how to turn that down a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you're so career driven for all this time, but you have to turn that down, because if you're just so career driven in a relationship,
you don't leave room for anything.
Yeah, you don't leave room for, and that was kind of the issue they had in Best Man Holiday, was like, he was trying to kind of like, you know, do the whole babe, like, let's settle down. He was trying to propose to her. Like, he was trying to do the big thing, and she wasn't receptive to that at that time, because she had so much other things going on as far as her friendships, as far as work, as far as, you know, Harper about to release this new book and her trying to help him do that. Like, it's just kind of like...
Well, it wasn't just him trying to release a new book. His next book, after the one that caused all the trouble in The Best Man, was a failure. Nobody wanted to touch it. They were like, no. And it was brought up that, hey, you're friends with Lance Sullivan, aren't you? Why don't you do his biography? And because that tension existed, he was like, yeah, I think I want to stay away from that. I've written enough about my friends in our lives. I don't know that this is a good idea. Plus, he's still mad at me for sleeping with his wife.
And he's not going to do something that's going to, like, monetize. And like...
Well, it wasn't even about monetizing the friendship. It was like, I remember getting hung over a balcony. I'm not trying to have that.
But I think that was the other part.
But well, capitalizing on the friendship, it was kind
of
like
that was another layer. But that was the other layer of what hurt Lance. It's like, not only did you go behind my back and do something that hurt me, but then it's like, you're basically trying to monetize off of it, and you're trying to kind of create this stardom for yourself by writing this book. And then now that that's failed, I think what's going on in Harper's mind is, I already learned my lesson from the past and you know, 15 years ago. I don't want to then, even though this would be a good scoop, this would be a good, you know, thing for me career-wise, you know, he's already upset with me, already doesn't trust me. So now I'm going to have to go back in and pretty much ask him to kind of like share parts of his life or his intimate details to then, you know, capitalize off of it or make money off of it to build my success, which he's at that point, like Lance's character is at that point where, I don't owe you anything. You took stuff from me, or you betrayed me. Like, I don't want to help you out. Like,
there's that part, but then also as a celebrity, a sports figure, it was like he was doing his best to keep his life private.
Yeah.
Private. Nobody needed to know anything about him beyond, I'm a football player. And some of that probably stemmed from the information that was in Lance's, Harper's book. So anyway, they've come full circle, and now we get to see what happens as they're ready to get Quentin
and
down
this
the
is
aisle.
Best Man Holiday came out in 13 or 15?
2013.
So this is 10 years later.
10 years later, we're seeing where they are, how much their lives have changed. Their kids are older. Baby Mia's now teenage Mia. Has Lance met and remarried? Don't know.
Yeah, their relationship was kind of just not hitting it for me. I'm sorry.
Who, Mia and Lance?
No, that's the one that was like, this is what I... That's Mia and Lance is literally goals. Like, that's the relationship you want to have. Like, they reading the Bible together. They love each other so much. The way that man ugly cried in Best Man Holiday took me out. For me, it's like, I'm talking about Harper and Robin's relationship. From day one, when I was watching Best Man, the original movie, I was sitting back like at the wedding, like, girl, why are you taking him back? He done slept with Mia. He done slept with I forget Nia Long's character's name, but he slept with Nia Long's, or he almost had that interaction, and then he kissed her, I guess, that night or whatever, and then, like, now he's trying to, like, I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it. And I felt like she kind of took him back too quick in the first movie. And then in the second movie, he's still acting a fool and not, like, really, like, being the man that he needs to be. But what iced everything over was the fact they're having this baby together. So I just wasn't feeling their relationship anyway. Like, I
think some of what you felt in the relationship, they covered in the first one, which was the girl got ADD. She's a chef. And so when she's in the kitchen, she has the opportunity to be organized, chaotic. But some of that spills over into everyday life. And Harper is a little bit more immaculate about how he structures his life. And so in the first one, he was kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I love her, but she's all over the place and I need stability. By the second one, they're married, about to have their first child together. But I don't know, to your point, I don't think I felt as strongly about their relationship as I did with Lance and Mia's, or even Murch and Candace.
Yeah, look, I feel like as far as Lance and Mia is concerned, that is like top tier goals. That's what you want your marriage to look like. Candace and Murch, that's another relationship where even though they've come from two different worlds, you know, Candace kind of came from some kind of, like, you know, I don't want to say shady beginnings because I don't look at strippers as shady, but like she came from an environment where it's not favorable for you to be in that position, but she worked her way up and, you know, she got to a point where she's stable. She, you know, has her children, she has her family, and they're working well together. Husband, yeah, right. Like they're working well together. So that was like another, you know, good relationship. But I'm sorry, but Robin, I saw a lot of myself in Robin because unfortunately, I feel like us as women, sometimes we put up with so much BS from men and we kind of like let stuff go instead of kind of like really holding our ground and be like, no, I'm not accepting this. Like, I got to kind of march to the own beat of my drum and really, I love you. I care about you. But this is something I can't put it. I kind of feel like they both settled in that relationship. That's my gut feeling.
It'll be interesting to see what happens in, final chapters. It'll be interesting to see where they are.
Because I just felt like they fought most of the movie. Do you not see what I mean? Like, I just felt like they fought in both movies. They fought a lot.
I don't feel like they fought a lot in the first one. I think in the second one, because she was pregnant, she was kind of like, look, I need what I need. And I'm not going to do that. And he was like, oh, okay. But he was also hiding something from her.
He's always hiding something from her. And that's what I don't like. Like, it just doesn't seem like a genuine...
Okay, so now that you bring that up, because I had questioned, okay, if there's a villain in this movie, I pegged it on Quentin. But now I'm starting to rethink it. Maybe the villain, and I know villain is a very strong word, maybe the villain was Harper.
For sure.
All right, y'all let me know what you think.
And the thing is, villain, when we say villain, I don't want to say it like he has horrible intentions all the way around.
Right.
But just the way he goes through life is very much like...
the way he justifies.
Like, it's kind of like... it's very selfish, and it's very much like, you know, in that moment, he's not really thinking about how it's affecting other people. And that's why I'm like, the whole movie, he was never one of my favorite characters, honestly. Like, he just never was. And then even the relationship that him and Robin had, I didn't get the warm and fuzzies, you know, when I first saw that movie. And even going into Best Man Holiday, I didn't get the warm and fuzzies because it was kind of like, I don't know. I just felt like he was a very selfish man. And even like during her pregnancy, it's like, there was one scene and it runs and plays over in my head constantly whenever I hear the movie or like watch it. But it's kind of like, I remember when she was saying that, when Robin's character was saying, hey, like, you know, Mia offered us some stuff that she had from her kids.
Stuff, yeah.
He was like, no, I don't want no hand-me-down. The egotistical man.
The pride.
It's the pride for me. Like, it was just kind of like, your book didn't do that well.
You lost your job.
You lost your job.
You haven't told her.
You have friends that are willing to help you. And instead of, like, taking the help, you're still in this very prideful, selfish, egotistical way of thinking. And even the woman that you're with, your wife that's pregnant, is like, hey, like, let's utilize this moment and, like, you know, take advantage of it. And you're kind of just like, no, I don't want to take any hand-me-downs. I don't want to do this. I want to get everything new for my kids. Like, it was giving me flashbacks. I'm sorry.
But you know what? It's also very much, they're different mindsets. While she was kind of, it may have come off as all over the place, she was probably very practical
compared
about
to
certain
him.
things. It's like, we can afford, in her head, it's like, we can afford to buy baby stuff, but ain't nothing wrong with a hand-me-down. If it's still in good condition and, you know, a baby can wear it, what's the problem? And that saves us some money.
I want to clear it up, too, because it's not me saying that I don't think more movies or more films need a more realistic viewpoint of what relationships look like. Because I will say, I think Harper and Robin's relationship was it was a really, like, realistic, it was a very realistic viewpoint on a relationship. Because not every relationship is going to look like Lance and Mia. You know, that's the fairy tale dream that we all want in life for our relationship to look like. But you also have these relationships that are very, like, different. Where it's two different individuals that live their life two different types of ways. But for some odd reason that attracts and they click. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I just think for some odd reason, like, he is just very selfish and, like, egotistical. And it shows even in his friendships, the way he treated friends. It was just like, he's very selfish. And I don't think he really truly cherished the woman that Robin was in the film. Like, I just don't think.
Well, like I said, we'll find out where all of them land on December 22nd. That's this coming Thursday on Peacock. If you don't have Peacock, download it. I think it'll be on the free version. But if not, y'all come up with $4.99.
Well, I think the $4.99 version, the
$4.99 gets you access to more of their programming. But look, that's how much it costs to rent a movie. Go ahead and pay $4.99 and see the whole series, all 6 episodes. And then later on, we can come back and talk about it. Or we can talk about it in the comments. Either or.
Nice. But it would be a nice Christmas, you know, movie to watch with all your friends and your family for the holidays.
Yes. Anyway, that is all we have for today. We hope you have a wonderful Christmas, a prosperous New Year. We'll be back after Martin Luther King Day because, you know, a sister need a break. Anyway, we'll see you in January. Until then, happy holidays, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Bye.